Welcome in to the Sports Shuffle, where Joel thinks I magically sing actual songs when I'm waiting for the countdown clock to pop up on the screen. It takes like 45 seconds from the time I hit start for that to even go. I am flying Ryan Go Chris along with.
Tampa Motor Mouth Joel Brown. Yeah, I know there's a streamer I tend to actually watch on Twitch who turns things that he's trying to do in a game and tries to make them into a song. So I'm used to it.
Oh, it's a talent. If you know how to do it, that's a real talent. It's hard to do, but it is a talent. Anyways, we're not going to do a big recap on week number 18. If you are on Friday, the day before wildcard weekend starts, and you
Ryan,
don't know.
well, no, we probably don't want to talk about Week 18 because let me see. We have your team that had a Bills team get the divisional crown by pulling a punt return TD out of their butt. And you had my team that had one of the ugliest wins to clinch a division I think I've ever seen in my life. That was fugly.
I have a question though, because I have my point of view on this, and I don't know if anybody else shares it. So I'm going to ask you this: what do you think was harder, or would be the harder path? Losing to Buffalo next week and going to Kansas City, and possibly Baltimore down the road, or finding a way to beat Buffalo back-to-back weeks? Because Miami would have had to beat Buffalo, and then they would have played them again next week.
Probably the whole back-to-back thing
That's what I'm thinking.
because you have the whole thing about you can't beat a team four times in a season.
It's one of those things like Buffalo won the first matchup. It would have been a split, but going back-to-back weeks in the same stadium, I feel like that gives Buffalo more of an advantage if they'd have played again. And Buffalo kind of shot themselves in the foot a lot in that game. We're not going to go too far into it. But
They Plexico breast them.
yeah, like I feel like even though we'll talk about the game and the weather that both of these teams are going to be facing, I feel like going to Kansas City is a more reasonable, doable challenge than beating Buffalo on back-to-back weeks. It's just my opinion. So seeing them lose to Buffalo hurt, but it wasn't like the end of the world. Obviously, they'd rather won the division, possibly found a way to not be, facing Buffalo back-to-back weeks, but that wouldn't have been possible. And Tampa, as ugly as it was, a 9-0 win does clinch them the NFC South. So, I mean, both teams in the
pretty much
playoffs.
was like a whole snapshot of the whole year.
Yeah, Carolina back-to-back weeks with no points to wrap up a turd of a season, and it's on to 2024 and the number one overall pick for the Carolina Panthers to go to the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, that was a honor and a salute. We're on to 2024 for now former Coach Belichick, at least for a little while until he finds a home to land in.
Yeah, so let's talk about what happened with the coaches this week, because it started off pretty normal. It started off with
12:01 a.m.
Yeah, right after midnight.
You're fired. Just
Arthur Smith
channel a little basically space rockets from the Jetsons.
Yeah, you have Arthur Smith out the door, and it was literally, I think it broke on my phone at 12:03 a.m. on Black Monday. So they did not wait at all to get rid of him on Black Monday. Then Ron Rivera later in the day, and we thought, okay, we talked to him like maybe there's, maybe something else will happen.
Black Monday is never over, even when Monday is over, because there was 1 week, 1 year when you had, I forget which coach it was, who survived the whole week, but then fired the following Monday.
Yeah. So then we go to Tuesday, because today's the first day we haven't had a firing. We had a hiring today, but we didn't have a firing or a relieval today. Tuesday, Tennessee Titans get rid of Mike Vrabel. And I don't know about you. I know we kind of tinkered with, well, if he wants to go to New England, that could happen.
That's what the talk was. That's where he wanted to go. He seemed to have his heart set on it.
So he's let go. And you think, okay, of the open jobs, he's going to probably get one of them. But New England is not open yet. You're not hearing anything out of New England. Now you go to Wednesday. And this was the biggest surprise to me on the week. Pete Carroll out as the head coach. And
like
boom, like they were on the same page.
I mean, it's like you had every big name coach seemed to have their own day this week. Arthur Smith, not you.
Yeah, Pete Carroll's going to go into the management side of things, he's not going to be a coach next year. It sounds like he wanted to be a coach, but it was just time for them to turn the page. But that was a big shock. And then Thursday kind of broke earlier that, hey, the Patriots and Bill Belichick, they're going to separate ways. We're going to do it in the right way. And he was gone. And then it was like, well, now I know why the Titans got rid of Vrabel. They knew he was going to leave for New England anyways. They just got ahead of it. And then today, the Patriots hire new head coach, former New England linebacker, Jerod Mayo. Not Mike Vrabel, Jerod Mayo, who was a linebackers coach on the team for the last couple of years.
They went to Jerod.
They got the mailman. He'll have to share that nickname with Will Levis. But, he is now the head coach of the New England Patriots. So the last opening to come on the scene is the first one filled.
I like Belichick's opening quip. He goes, we haven't had this many cameras here since we signed Tebow.
We'll see what happens with Bill Belichick. He is 71 years old. I think he wants to coach again. If he's going to coach again, he's going to go to a team that is
Atlanta seems to be the team that everyone's placing as his landing spot.
Atlanta would be interesting. They've got good pieces. They badly need a quarterback.
No quarterback.
They badly need a quarterback, but we'll get to the draft order later. They do have a top 10 draft pick, picking at number 8 once again, so they could make a move. I mean, Carolina moved up from 9-1 last year. What Chicago does at number 1, only time will tell. That'll be a debate. Like, Justin Fields was pretty decent for the last half of the season.
Yeah, I think you can get Marvin Harrison Jr.'s, tag him up with Justin Fields on one flank, DJ Moore on the other flank. Hello, fantasy points.
And then second round pick, go get a number 1 running back. And you've got another pick in the first round. Go get an offensive lineman. Go get something that helps this team in other ways. And this could be a very good Chicago Bears team very, very quickly. But we'll see what they do. They might say, hey, number 2. Who's number 2, Joel? Do you know who number 2 is? It's Washington. Washington, you need a quarterback, right? Well, you know what?
Washington actually needs pretty much 3/4 of a team.
Well, you go to Washington and say, hey, Washington, we're going to take Caleb Williams if you don't come up and pay us to not do that. Here's our price. Come up to 1 and take him.
Caleb, footage from this Penthouse Williams.
Yeah. USC quarterback, Heisman Trophy winner last year in 2022 into 2023. He's considered this can't miss project. Hot take. I think he's going to be a bust. Only time will tell. You never know. I thought Justin Herbert would be a bust, and I've been kind of right, kind of wrong on that one. I thought Tua would be a bust. I'm kind of right, kind of wrong on that one. So they're going to go. I think that what they should try and do is go to Washington and say, hey.
How about when Tua's brother finally comes out?
It's a couple years down the road, too. I don't know if he's going to be as good. But what they should do is go to Washington or go to the number 3 pick in New England and say, hey, what's it worth to go up to number 1? Get the guy. Get another huge ransom. They got DJ Moore, what ended up being the number 1 overall pick this year, the 9th pick last year, and several other picks for Carolina to go up to number 1. Have another team do that. And hey, when you move down to that next position, go a little lower. I think if they trade back twice, they can trade back with Washington or New England and then trade back with Atlanta to go get that quarterback and come out with a lot of first-round picks for this year and next year, set this team up for long-term success. I don't think they should take the number 1 overall pick and use it. I think they can trade back to number 3 and then maybe even back to number 8 and still have a shot at someone like Marvin Harrison because other teams have bigger needs. We'll go over the draft order here in a little bit, but that is the state of the coaching situation. I guess let's go over the draft order for now. Picking number 1 as of now, the Chicago Bears by way of the Carolina Panthers at 2-15. Congratulations, you were the worst team in the league by 2 full games. Picking number 2 is the Washington Commanders, recently without a head coach as Ron Rivera is gone. No fill-ins have been put in place.
No throwing drinks after the first pick.
Yes. We'll see if they actually stay at number 2. They could move up. They could also move down if somebody hops them and takes the guy they want at number 1. New England, number 3. Arizona at number 4. Arizona's already committed to a quarterback for next year. I think that is the Marvin Harrison landing spot because it sounds like Hollywood Brown might be on the way out there. Only time will tell, but they look like hold on at number 4.
Noise Brown after this year.
Yeah. They look like they're going to hold on at number 4. Then you got the Chargers at number 5. A lot of weird needs on that team. They still need a head coach as well. Then the Giants at 6 and 11 are the number 6 pick. Tennessee also 6 and 11 going to be picking number 7. You can make a case quarterbacks needed for both of those teams, but they have a lot. I mean, the Giants badly need a receiver, and some defensive help on both teams is very important. Atlanta, quarterbacks their biggest need. We already talked about Chicago. I think they trade down, get some pieces around, and build up. The Jets are an interesting team, picking number 10. They will be trading away their second-round pick due to the Aaron Rodgers trade last year because he did not play. I think it was 65% of snap, a required percentage of snaps. So the second-round pick will go to the Green Bay Packers. The New York Jets will hold on to number 10. Minnesota.
Did you hear apparently Aaron Rodgers is back on McAfee even after ESPN said we don't want him on?
Well, let me finish with the draft, and we'll go over that because it was weird. Minnesota picking number 11. They should be getting Kirk Cousins back. This is a team that needs some defensive pieces, so I think that's where they got to go. Denver, I don't know. I mean, they don't know what's going on with Russell Wilson. They don't have a quarterback if they get rid of him.
Boy, Clusterville.
But they're picking at number 12. They're in the dead zone. It's going to be very tough for them to get a guy who is worthwhile. There are some good quarterback prospects in this draft, so maybe by number 12, maybe it'll be a Bo Nix that's down there from Oregon. It's not a great situation. Vegas is picking number 13. We'll have to see what happens with Josh Jacobs in the offseason and Antonio Pierce as the head coach. So far, no news is broken on that as far as I've seen. New Orleans at 9 and 8 has retained Dennis Allen. They have a lot of ways they can go. Indianapolis looks like a team on the rise. They're picking 15. Seattle at 16. Jacksonville and Cincinnati round out your top 18. After that, it will come down to the playoffs because obviously if Green Bay right now would be picking 19th. But if they go to the conference championship, that will go to 29th if they lose out there. So that's where we're at right now. Arizona also has Houston's pick. That is, they were expecting it to be a top 5 pick. It is currently projected at pick number 21. And again, the playoffs will play into that as well. Anyways, interesting here. This is predicting. Yeah, we'll get to that here in a second. Tankathon is predicting Green Bay, Tampa Bay, Houston, the Rams, Pittsburgh, and Miami to lose. Houston is a higher seed. Interesting scenario. I think it's just doing based on win-loss record. Don't look into it too much, but that's where we're at with that. And then Pat McAfee, as Joel has alluded to, we didn't get too much into the Aaron Rodgers debate when he came out and said Jimmy Kimmel might come on to the Jeffrey Epstein list that Stephen Hawking was the big surprise guest on. Jimmy Kimmel didn't like that. He went on his show and said, you can't do that. If you say it again, we're going to take you to court. There was a lot of drama with ESPN because Pat McAfee, as of earlier this year, he's now employed by ESPN, which is owned by Disney. Disney also owns ABC, who is the...
Technically, if Pat McAfee is paying Aaron Rodgers to be on his show, technically Aaron Rodgers is technically paid by ESPN also. Technically.
And so is Jimmy Kimmel based on the fact he works on ABC. So there was the internal politics of the company attacking itself. There was the internal pressures of, hey, you can't have a guy come on your show and just say random nonsense that's not proven about not like just this.
Nickelodeon television show. You can't do that on television.
Yeah, but it was also, hey, you can't have this guy come on and accuse our celebrities of being on a pedophile list. You can't come on and have him say vaccines are bad and talk about how he does ayahuasca and all this. You have to control these people that you bring on your show. And they said on Tuesday, Aaron Rodgers Tuesday is done. He is not coming back for the rest of the season. Last year he was on until like March. It's done. Then on Wednesday, all right, we got a 4-time MVP coming on the air, and it's Aaron Rodgers on the show. One day later. So Joel, I don't know what you make of it. It's just a very weird situation.
Yeah, that's when you're just going, okay, and you're just like, I have no idea what's going on, or that would be like it's what's going on with ESPN would be like that meme with the dog in front of the computer. I have no idea what I'm doing.
Yeah, it's not a good look. And we'll see. Pat McAfee, when he joined the ESPN network, it was one of those like, I don't know how this is going to work out. This is kind of what we expected.
Especially with his propensity for expletives. That that if he's sort of on kind of his own deal, but when you're with ESPN, they sort of don't like that propensity.
Yeah. Now I will say
Because
he
I
has
remember.
been told he can't swear during the ESPN portion of the show. He does have an hour that's on YouTube
Oh, okay.
only, and it's on his podcast.
Because I
That last
remember.
hour, it's the same exact foul mouth show as it always has been. I
Yeah,
do like the show personally, so I'm not criticizing based on that.
Yeah,
But
because I remember one time bringing up one about Pat McAfee as a play-by-play, and you were like,
no, he would get too excited and drop it because he's been very close to dropping F-bombs on College Game Day. There was a viral clip that went around him talking about Alabama's quarterback, who who uses his own apparel line, and the acronym is LANK, and it's Let a Naysayer Know. Pat McAfee's went like 5 seconds after Reese Davis says this, trying to get into a story. He goes, "I did not think that's where you were going with that. Let a naysayer know." And all the people on the show, people on the show lose it. The people that are of a different complexion than Pat McAfee lose it in a different way because he's implying of a different word being used.
Yeah,
And
that if you are of our color, that's probably not a word that one person of our color is
yeah.
allowed to use. Yeah.
And I'll say this on the show, it ended up being a very comedic moment. And also understanding the sports culture, because I grew up playing team sports and I played with all kinds of people from all different kinds of backgrounds. Words are thrown around that aren't normally thrown around. So when he goes, "Let a naysayer know," it's one of those like, I'm pretty sure it means something else. He says something different to the media, but it got out of control. But that's Pat McAfee. He's just gonna
That'd sort of be like Demolition Man. You are fined 1 credit for violation of the morality code.
This guy doesn't understand the shells. Oh. Anyway, that is the non on the field stuff from this week.
And then you also have the insane lawsuit, of course, between Gruden and Goodell.
Yeah, that's old news. That's ongoing. We'll see what happens with that. We'll talk about it when it gets to a head.
Yeah, because apparently there's a report, and apparently because Gruden was with the Saints just as an advisor, but there's some interest in having him join the staff, but probably not until they get all this legal stuff and legal such ironed out.
Yeah, they'll want that to go away before they bring him in. Anyways, let's talk about wildcard games coming up. Starting on Saturday, it's Super Wild Card Weekend, where we have 2 games Saturday, 3 games Sunday, and 1 game on Monday.
We have to at least say super once, otherwise the NFL will come after us and find us a credit. Yeah. You have to at least once. But I will say, I think this weekend might actually live up to the hype.
It could. We will see.
You already have 2 weather games.
The argument for the league is scripted really gets a boost this weekend because let's go over some of the matchups. You have Cleveland.
Hashtag Tom Grussi.
Yeah. You have Cleveland at Houston. It is the Deshaun Watson returns to Houston. Yes, he's not playing, but still.
Can we call this the Massage Bowl?
Massage Bowl, yeah. Houston has gotten good very quickly, partially on the back of the trade of Deshaun Watson, all the picks they got from Cleveland. Cleveland is overachieving with Joe Flacco. Big story there. Then you get Miami at Kansas City, the return of Tyreek Hill to Kansas City that we did not get in the regular season because the game was in Germany. Then you go to Sunday, Pittsburgh, Buffalo. Not a big storyline there, but Green Bay at Dallas. Coach Mike McCarthy, head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, was the last head coach to lead the Green Bay Packers to a Super Bowl title. Green Bay has also never lost in the new AT&T Stadium in Dallas. Fun fact there. And then the headline return of the weekend, Matthew Stafford, who was traded away.
Should it be NFL Trek 2, the Wrath of Stafford?
He's going back to Detroit, playing in the first ever home playoff game at Ford Field for the Detroit Lions. Again, they don't have many of those in the
This is
last
the
30
first time
years.
I've heard this mentioned like in all month. I've never hashtag definite sarcasm.
Oh, yeah. So Stafford, after leaving in a trade, gets a Super Bowl win, comes back the first ever home playoff game that his former team has, and he is the villain on the field. And they're already saying, don't wear your Stafford jersey to the game. Don't do it. Wear a different jersey. Don't wear your Stafford. They're not going to kick anybody out. That would be ridiculous. And then you wrap up with Philadelphia at Tampa Bay, which actually I think is the third year in a row those two teams played in the postseason, and they split 1-1. So if you're looking for storylines, the NFL first round definitely comes with it. So let's go to that first game. Cleveland at Houston. Cleveland got pounded in week 18 because they didn't play any of the starters. They're already locked in the 5 seed. Joe Flacco didn't play, Amari Cooper, David Njoku, blah, 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 down the line. Houston won a game against Indianapolis to, at the time, clinch a wild card spot, later win the division due to a Jaguars loss on Sunday to the Titans. Then the Houston Texans won the AFC South 1 year after having a top 2 pick, which is something that very rare to see occur. Cleveland, though, they seem to have a little bit of that team of destiny vibe because of the Joe Flacco narrative. He's revitalized this offense. He's revitalized this fan base. But Houston is the Cinderella team of this year's playoffs, a team we really saw come out of nowhere. I mean, if you look at the rest of the teams, it's like, who's the next most unlikely team to have made the playoffs after Houston? I think it's either Green Bay or Pittsburgh. One of those two. But even then, you're like, if Jordan Love is good, or the quarterback for the Steelers, which we thought would be Kenny Pickett, takes the next step, they'll be just fine. It happened to be someone else that got him over the hump, but we thought they had a shot. Nobody, unless you are the hardcorest Houston Texans homer, nobody was picking the Texans not only to make the playoffs, but to win that division. So great season for Houston, and they're going to play Cleveland midday, about 4:30 on Saturday. Big game for both teams. The big storyline, of course, is the Deshaun Watson drama behind the scenes. It's not going to play out on the field. But Houston's first playoff game in a number of years. Cleveland, great defense and a great revival story in Joe Flacco. But Joel, who do you got?
All right, as this was a crazy tale for the Texans, rising up from literally the bottom, 2 wins to find themselves here. And I think this is a tale of 2 quarterbacks. Yeah, one off his couch, doesn't care about, hey, well, team's sending me checks. Yeah, I'll check it sometime after being, and one other one back after being injured. The Browns have somehow managed to get to the playoffs with starting 4 QBs. Not there are 4 lights like in Star Trek: The Next Generation, but 4 QBs. Deshaun Watson, of course, Mr. P.J. Walker, Mr. DTR, and of course, Mr. Wacko for Flacco. Never ever count out C.J. Stroud as his ability as a clutch QB to win it late. This was very evident in the Bucs Texans game. Bucs Nation thought for sure that the Mayfield to Otton strike was the game winner. Then, literally out of nowhere, with 6 seconds left on the freaking clock, Stroud to Dell, of course, Dell out for the season, gone too soon this year, unfortunately. Hopefully, we'll be back next year. The game winning TD might be Collins instead of Dell, but as long as there is time left on the clock, never count Stroud nor Houston out. Houston has transformed from a terrible team to a terror of a team, and they are very, very dangerous. I'm picking the Texans to advance 20-17.
I'm also taking Houston. I don't know how confident I am in this pick because the Cleveland Browns have just been on an absolute tear of late.
You're worried that Amari could have another super blow-up game.
Yeah, I mean, Joe Flacco's been very good. He's been one of the best quarterbacks in football since he finally got the job. And then the rest of this team has just been clicking of late. They got a great defense, but I am taking Houston because CJ Stroud, this team is on some kind of a heater. The defense is much better than we expected them to be, and they've been getting production from wide receivers that, frankly, nobody expected. Nico Collins definitely was on fantasy radars, but not drafted in a lot of places. And it, Robert Woods, it's Noah Brown. Tank Dell had a great year before he got injured.
Yeah, let me take Damian Pierce.
Yeah, Damian Pierce is not very good. But all of that being said, I think Houston has the magic. They are at home, and I think they get it done, and they take care of the Cleveland Browns in what should be a lower scoring game. I got it about 23-17, but Houston, we both have advanced.
You don't think either team is going to blow out the other one? It's going to be a nail biter.
No, I think these are two solid enough teams defensively that a blowout probably means a defense is dominating the other team and getting some scores on their own. I just don't think that's going to happen. Now, Cleveland did dominate Houston a few weeks ago without CJ Stroud. The Texans remember that. They'll remember what they saw, and then with CJ Stroud, they'll be more confidence. They'll also be at home.
And we go to the game that probably not many people are going to be able to see.
Yep, this game is on Peacock, and it's Miami at Kansas City. The NFL trying to punish the Swifties and make them pay for Peacock just because, well, their idol is dating someone.
And there was a joke a while back I saw where it was, HBO Max has gone to just Max. Okay, Peacock, your move.
Yeah. I just got that about halfway through. Yeah, you dropped the P and it just sounds something gross. Anyways, Miami at Kansas City is on Peacock. It'll be the lowest rated game of the week, not because the game's not entertaining, because you have Tyreek going back to Kansas City. You have a couple offenses that have high power possibilities, some defenses that can shut it down.
Channeling a little LL Cool J, he's going back to Kansas. He's going back to Kansas.
Yeah. The problem with this game, other than the fact that it's on Peacock, the other problem with this game, other than being on Peacock, is the weather. There's a chance the air temperature is below zero at kickoff with high winds and a wind chill that has enough potential of causing frostbite if exposed to for more than 20 minutes.
Reminds me of the old Battlestar Galactica two-parter, Gun on Ice Planet Zero, that if you were outside too much, you literally would die.
Yeah, so you have a team from Miami with a quarterback from Hawaii going to Kansas City to play a very good defense. With the 28 to 30 mile an hour expected winds, you have to expect this is going to be a ground and pound game. Think about Vegas versus Kansas City around Christmas, but colder. I think that's the game you're going to see. It's going to be on the ground game. Guys like Devin Achane, Isaiah Pacheco to lead their teams, maybe Mostert if he's back, and a defense to shut down the other side. This should be a higher scoring game in good weather, but due to the weather, I expect it to be a very low scoring game. So, Joel, who do you got?
Right. Everything here is about two Chiefs, one current Kelsey and one former Mr. Tyreek Hill. As for the Chiefs, of course, it will be if anyone, and I mean anyone, can step up with what's left of the Dolphins D, because that's going to be on Travis Kelce like glue. Can anyone, Tony, who I know is questionable, or even Sky Moore, who's been invisible the entire freaking season, or somebody else can actually make a name for themselves? The Chiefs need a wideout to step up in the worst possible way. Dolphins, meanwhile, have a tough road to a cold Arrowhead. This will be one of Tua's coldest games in his personal history, and the game will come down to defenses. KC's D has been basically carrying their team on their shoulders. The barely field goal favorite spread. It's easy for me to say. Spread speaks. Say that 3 times real fast. The KC's rough December, losing to the Packers, Bills, and Raiders, have to pick KC here just because Miami will be way out of their element. I would not mind being proved wrong here, but it's just a hard proposition to back the fish here. Just a little bit out of water. Historic weather game, maybe not as historic as the Ice Bowl, but Mr. Freeze would definitely feel at home here. So what's more which handicap is more egregious? KC's wideouts having no hands, or a historically bad cold team in Miami having to play in potentially 0-degree weather? I'm picking Chiefs 23-17.
You have a lot more hope for a higher scoring game than I do as I choke over here. I'm taking Miami, and I know it sounds like a homer pick, but I will explain it. I can breathe. This game is going to be one on the ground. So I think you can take the bad wide receivers out of play for Kansas City. But Tyreek Hill can get the ball in the very short, like toss passing game or on the ground to help. And they also have Devon Achane and Raheem Mostert. In theory, both are not 100% locked to
As
play.
long as he's not Raheem Mostert.
Yeah. But either way, you have Achane, you have Tyreek, you have Waddle. I think they can get the ball in either very, very short passes or handing off to these guys. They're very good at the misdirection handoff pitch game. I think. Okay, that's fun. I think that the Dolphins will be just fine in the cold. And I think they're going to get the ground game going. They're going to do better than the Chiefs. I think they're a better ground game than the Chiefs. The defense should be just fine. And with that being said, I think the Dolphins will win this game as we get someone trying to scam us.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, that's fun.
Somebody's going to be banned.
Yes. YouTube comments are fun.
Okay, so
all right. Anyways, with that.
So as we deal with try to ignore the scammer. So
Yeah.
What's the score?
I'm gonna take 13-7, and it's gonna be a missed extra point by Miami to make that score work. Next up, Pittsburgh going to Buffalo. Buffalo, not gonna be as cold as Kansas City, but the weather's gonna be worse because there will be snow in the air and higher wind gusts, with wind gusts up into the 50 to 60 mile an hour range. So this is another one where the passing game. Remember a few years ago when Buffalo and New England played a game, they couldn't pass the ball. I think New England tried it 3 times. This might be that style of game. That being said, Pittsburgh, Buffalo, not great offensive teams, especially in that kind of weather. It's going to come down to the defense in this one. Who's got the better ground? Again, if you can't throw the ball, whose ground game is better? So it's going to be possible that this is going to be a very hard-fought, drag-out type of game in this scenario. So Joel, Buffalo coming on strong, had a great few weeks to win the division. Pittsburgh finished the last 3 weeks very, very strong to get into the playoffs. Who do you got?
Yeah, this is one of the not exactly sexier games out of this entire weekend because the Bills would have ended up getting here with even without being helped by the Jacksonville loss because they ended up beating the Dolphins in the Sunday night football finale. But the Steelers needed some help. So Steelers also beat the Ravens backups in a weather game. Bills, of course, pulled a kick return out of their butt to beat the Dolphins at home and get there on their own merit, even though they'd already been helped into the playoffs by, of course, the Jacksonville loss. Steelers had the bad streak against the Cards and the Pats, but then, to their credit, bounced back very nicely. Bills lost in overtime at Philly, but then did not lose after the bye, including wins at Arrowhead and hosting Dallas, 2 very good teams. Bills back in the playoffs, firstly, because, as previously mentioned, Titans beat the Jags, and, much to their chagrin, Jags have a lot of work to do in this offseason. Just, if you're going to have a team that's as bad as the Philadelphia Eagles, well, we'll get to them later, but boy, Jags are definitely up there. You're kind of surprised no one was let go there. But, yeah. So the question is, are we, this is also a huge weather game, 80% chance of snow with, winds maybe even higher than 15 to 25 swirling about. Are we going to see the good Allen or are we going to see the bad Allen? Wheel of Gabe sadly is grounded this week, will not play. So will it be the juggernaut Steelers? Will it be the dysfunctional Steelers? As I definitely think the Bills are the better team. Once again, they got into the dance on their own merit. The Steelers had to have help. I'm picking the Bills and channeling a little ELO. Don't let me down. Bills 24-14.
I think this is going to be another very, very, very low scoring game. I think that the Buffalo Bills have been very, very good, but they haven't been consistently winning one way or another. They had the one game against Dallas where they really did pound the ball and get some good offense going that way, and they won that game. However, when it comes to weird weather games, that makes these harder to predict because the lesser team can stay in. I'm taking Pittsburgh. One, I hate Buffalo and I hope they lose. But two, Najee Harris, a big back in the snow, is going to be better. They also have Jaylen Warren, who can be a little bit more shifty. They can put both guys on the field, have a little more misdirection in there. Also, James Cook really has only had one monster performance in his career. He's had a very good season, but you have guys like Leonard Fournette, Latavius Murray. So if James Cook doesn't get it done, it's going to come to Josh Allen even have to throw in 60-mile-an-hour wind.
If Leonard Fournette doesn't like the cold, he ain't going to like this game. Ooh.
Yeah, he's a Southerner, true and true. He went to LSU. He's played in Florida before this stop in his career. What was it? It's colder here than penguin something or another. Words I can't say.
Yeah.
But I have a funny feeling that Buffalo, after their big rush to win the division, might have a little bit of a letdown, and then the weather could affect this game. I think you're looking 7-6 Pittsburgh. I think the weather with the wind is going to be that bad, and I think that's going to be what Pittsburgh stays in the game and finds a way to win off of.
I really think all of these games can honestly go. Most of these games can go either way.
Actually, I'm going to say 8-6 Pittsburgh because I think if it comes down to it, Buffalo has the kick. They can't kick because of the wind. They go for two, they get it, and I think it's 8-6.
So Pittsburgh gets to the Buffalo bullpen late, eh?
Yeah, I think so. It should be a very interesting game. And the weather is going to be crazy. When it's 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts, that is just absolutely insane. So I'm taking Pittsburgh partially because I just despise the Buffalo Bills and partially because I really think the weather is going to be that big of an impact. Next up, we have the Green Bay Packers going to Dallas to play the Cowboys and the number 2 seeded Dallas Cowboys, who have never won in their home stadium against the Green Bay Packers, in the current home stadium, that is. The Packers, they've finished fairly strong. Jordan Love had a great first season. He had a little bit of a stretch in the middle where it wasn't so good. And they've been solid. They've been getting a lot of help from their wide receivers who are mostly not well-known players. And Aaron Jones coming back was a big boost to this team. Dallas. Dak Prescott has had an MVP caliber season after a huge interception season last year. He was much better, improved that ratio to about 4-1, where last year was almost 2-1 on the touchdown interceptions. And Dallas, they've been a great team. They did lose to Philadelphia. They did lose to Miami. They did struggle against Seattle towards the end of the season, but all in all, they took care of business when they needed to take care of business and got a win against Philadelphia in there as well. Dallas is that playoff team you get all hyped up about, and then they poo in your hands. They just don't get it done. So the question here, Green Bay, who is a very young upstart team, really playing with house money, similar to Houston, is there an upset brewing here in Dallas?
Yeah, because the Packers definitely have one of the youngest group of wideouts, I think, in the entire league. And if they're doing this well on the first year, just think of what happens if they can add some pieces. And the second year, Packers really, really get dangerous at the conference level, not just the divisional level. But the Packers really surprised everyone this year, even though it's proven that teams can run on the Cowboys. The question is a resurgent Aaron Jones enough, even though you have the Pack's defense has improved, and there's a shock. Words that you usually don't put together. Packers defense and improved, especially with the Coach Berry there heading everything up. But it's really hard picking them against Dallas at home. And while the Packers are very good and Love's future is very bright, he's probably wears shades a lot, I still have to go with the Cowboys. I don't think they're ready to do the pooping quite yet. Prescott, Lamb, and that D jury is still kind of a little bit out on Pollard this year. Maybe a little bounce back in the playoffs are in order. Picking the Cowboys 31-20.
I'm going to take Dallas as well. I have a weird feeling this is going to be uncomfortable for Dallas. But we also have to remember Dallas has been one of the best home teams in the NFL. They were dominant in their games for a very, very long time this season. But then lately they kind of struggled. I think they win this game, and I think they win it 24-20, but I think it comes on the back of a late touchdown to pull ahead. I think Green Bay is ascending. I really do think they're going to come on strong next year. Jordan Love and this receiver core continues to grow.
So you think Green Bay is kind of where the Lions were last year, and now the Lions are solidly in the playoffs. So you think they're going to make another step next year?
Well, the big weakness here is Green Bay's defense. They're going to give up some points here to Dallas, and I think that's the ultimate one. But they need a running back. But I think if this offense can gel together with these wide receivers and quarterback, you are in a much better position than you expected to be in year 2 of Jordan Love being your guy. But I just think Dallas is a little too good. I think Dallas is a little too deep. And they get just enough to win this game 24-20.
Well, Jordan Love, of course, is not really successful until he gets paid $1 million to go on Pat McAfee.
Yeah. Also, while you were doing your little comment, I found a way to block our little spam person.
Oh, okay. So
that's fun. Anyways, next up, the Stafford revenge game or return game, whichever one you want to do. The Rams go to Detroit to play the Lions. The Lions are the 3 seed, first NFC North title in their history, first division title in 30 years. The Rams, a couple years removed from a Super Bowl, but back in the playoffs for the first time since then. The Rams have, I would say, a very formidable offense with Kyren Williams, Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, and Matthew Stafford. So do Detroit, though. Jahmyr Gibbs, Montgomery, Laporta looks like he's actually going to play after having a weird knee injury in week number 18.
Because I think
Amon-Ra.
Yeah, because McVay was like it's days, not weeks for the injury, I believe, right? Or no, that's Campbell.
Laporta practiced.
Screwing up coaches.
Yeah, Laporta practiced today, though. So he's got a shot of playing. It'll be interesting to see if that does happen. If you are playing in the postseason fantasy, I wouldn't deal with that.
Sports Shuffle Audible. With Laporta's injury, do you think it was a wise idea for Dan Campbell to have all hands on deck week 18, or should he have rested the starters?
They had a shot of moving up in the standings, so I think it was a worthwhile risk for him to possibly get the 2 seed. Now, it was a very unlikely possibility because Dallas was playing Washington. They had to lose that game. So it was a calculated risk, but man, is he bad at math is kind of my way of seeing it. And all of that being said, I kind of don't think it was worth it just in case this was a serious injury. Because if he would have went down similar to Mike Williams last year, we'd be looking at this team going, oh, same old Lions doing the same old stupid stuff. And I just don't think it was the best idea. Now, if he plays this weekend, no harm, no foul. If Dallas will find a way to lose, they move to the 2 seed, it might be worth it as well. But unfortunately, I don't see that happening.
All right. So you want me to go to who I've got?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. As you may have heard, Stafford going to Ford Field. He once was on the Lions. I believe there's some story of that nature that's out there. But, yeah. And Puka is all the talk when it comes to the Rams. Lions' biggest problem definitely has to be defense. Plus, of course, Laporta. Like you said, he's going to be injured. Well, he was injured, but he's going to play. And he is just a superstar TE that you can almost literally count as a WR4. If you had him in fantasy, superstar this year. Bit banged up. Lions offense is fierce. So is the Rams, as we have seen both teams utterly dismantle other teams and good ones. I'm picking the team with the less sus defense, and I'm going with the Rams. I think Stafford steals a W here, 31-30 in one of the shootouts of the weekend.
I agree. This is going to be the highest scoring game of the week. I have Detroit winning 34-31. And I think it's going to be a very good game. I think both sides have tons of motivation. Stafford wants to go home and beat his former team, even if they leave on amicable terms. Detroit wants to get their first playoff win at home since, God, who knows how long. I couldn't even tell you. It might have been 91. It could have been a lot longer than that. And I just think Detroit's going to figure out you ground and pound and then hit them through the air. They're going to get the job done. I think the Rams defense is a little less talented in a lot of ways. I think the ground game for the Rams is going to be shut down more than it will be for Detroit, and that's going to be the difference. I'm going to take Detroit as well. Or I'm going to take Detroit against what Joel says. Like to remind everybody, Joel's much better than me in picks this year, so all these differences are probably not going to work out in my favor. Next up, the final game of the weekend is on Monday Night Football. It's Philadelphia at Tampa. Philadelphia comes in losing 5 of their last 6. Tampa struggling to get in, but gets in with the 9-0 win over Carolina to win the division at 9-8. Philadelphia coming off of losses to the Giants. It's been bad. It's been bad. It's been real bad for the Eagles lately.
Has it been bad?
It's been bad. For Tampa, you really got to think this defense has to step up
and not the good bad, the bad. You know, not the good bad like the Michael Jackson bad.
He bad. No, they bad. Yeah, you got to hope for Tampa that the defense can hold up and keep Philadelphia's offense from exploding. Philadelphia did win the regular season meeting 25-11, and at that time we said, "Hey, Tampa Bay's not on the same level." Well, Philadelphia's not on the level they were at that time either right now. So there's definitely a case to be made. This has a potential of being the most lopsided game of the weekend if Philadelphia shows up how we assume they would all season long, which they haven't really at all. It also has an opportunity to be one of the more perceived upsets of the weekend, because if you look at every other matchup, Pittsburgh-Buffalo has the biggest margin, but with the weather, that kind of makes it more of a competitive game, in my opinion. And then, you know, the rest of them, it's kind of in the realm of possibility. But Tampa beating Philadelphia, given they've been playing so poorly, still seems like a very big upset, and something that, if you're a fan of Philadelphia, you're going to have to hear about for the next 6 to 8 months before next season, and then even then. So, Joel, who do you got in this one? Your home team or the reigning NFC champions?
Okay, you ready? I got a lot for this one.
I figured you would.
Okay, we have Taylor throwing for over 300 yards on the Eagles D. Eagles go from 10-1 to 11-6, and one of the definite theories out there is the Eagles tanked last week so they could get the Bucs in a better weather game. I've definitely heard that more than one place. Eagles, different team, second half to say the least. Bucs have concerns. Oh boy, yeah, we do. Stomped by Saints, not stomped by stomp. Easy for me to say. Stomped by Saints. Say that 3 times backwards. For clinching attempt number 1, and then, oh boy, successful with attempt number 2, 9-0 only, because 2 of those TDs were the Panthers were negated by flags. If not, Panthers could have won even with 2 missed extra points, 12-9. You kind of have to wonder how ready this team is, but the key game that everyone is going to talk about, you already mentioned the week 3 game between the Eagles and the Bucs. So, matchups to watch. Don't worry, I've got the Cliff Notes versions. I'm not doing everything. But Jalen Hurts versus the Bucs front 7. Bucs blitz 75% of the time in week 3. Eagles run game versus the Bucs defense. Swift had 131 yards in week 3, but only offensive touchdown was from Jalen Hurts. Eagles DBs versus Evans and Godwin. Yeah, you know, if you played either one in week 3, oh my good God, just Evans 60 yards, just 1 touchdown, and of course 10 targets to salvage his fantasy week, and Godwin 32 yards, 5 targets. Of course, both had a better early December. Late last 2 weeks, Evans, yeah, Godwin not so much. And okay, are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Are you ready? Are you sure that you're ready? That you're ready for the ready by being ready? I'm picking Bucs because the Eagles' offense didn't blow the Bucs away in week 3. Bucs down. It was more the D that stopped them. call me crazy, but I think the Bucks have a shot getting past the first round for a change this year. What was the headline from week 3? Eagles defense gets his turn to shine as Philly shuts down the Buccaneers, an easy win. Defense, not offense. This is key. Key. Mayfield and this offense have to find that momentum that they had in early December when they stunned the Packers at Lambeau. I think the Bucks, it's a low one. Bucks win 14-10.
I'm taking Philly. I expect that to come. I do think they're going to be a little more motivated this week. I think they have the correct.
Even with Hurts' middle finger,
Yeah.
his knee, AJ Brown's knee, AJ Diva, all the.
I'll say this. I haven't heard a lot about their
problem.
injuries this week. Like you would expect to hear major things about AJ Brown. You expect to hear major things about Jalen Hurts. They're going to play, and they're going to be good enough. Tampa Bay's defense has been struggling, and frankly, you guys put up 9 against Carolina last week.
Yeah, that point I can't
That's
argue.
the hard point to, Philadelphia's playing bad against a division rival that's been playing well, or Buffalo or something like that. It's just tough to believe in Tampa Bay. And frankly, I think Philadelphia has more experience in the playoffs. They're going to tap into that and get the job done. But I do agree. I think it's going to be a lower scoring game. I think it's going to be 20-10 Philadelphia. I wowould rather see Tampa win, but I just don't think it's going to happen. But again, Joel's been right more often than not this year, and more than I have been. So, and he'll probably get 5-1, and that might be the only one he misses, which would be the worst case scenario for him. Anyways, that is our time on the picks. Time for final thoughts with Joel.
Final thought definitely has to be a former Tampa Bay quarterback in the news, as of course in the very last play of the Saints game, you had the Saints kneel down for victory formation, and of course Winston hands it off to Jamal Williams and runs in the end zone, and of course you see Arthur Smith's last scene in the NFL is absolutely going off on Coach Dennis Allen midfield. People calling for Jameis Winston's job, bench him, cut him, yada. I just think that that has to be handled in-house. And one question, I know that some people will bring up unwritten rule if you're in a victory formation, if you're in a kneel down. On the other hand, there was no way that could change the outcome of the game. The Atlanta Falcons ended up getting their butts beat so badly by the Saints. Granted, was it disrespectful? Yes, but still, as long as it didn't have any effect on the outcome or any effect on anything betting wise, which I don't really think that it did. I don't think you had any danger of the spread. I really don't think you had any danger, for the over or the under. Maybe Winston was just helping somebody to reach an incentives goal. If they had another touchdown, then they hit a milestone. They get some more money. So I don't know, what's your whole take on this? Because I'm not sure if that was really a big of a deal as Arthur Smith made it out to be. I mean, the Falcons had a horrible year. They ended it in a horrible way. So it's like maybe disrespectful. Yes, no. What's your call?
Jamal Williams hadn't had a touchdown all year. They just wanted to get him one. That's the only explanation. The game was over. The season was over for the Falcons. And maybe a little bit Bush League, but it was done because the players in the field wanted to do it. And Arthur Smith is a clown of a coach, so if he wants to freak out after the game, so be it.
Yeah, it's not like he threw fantasy managers over in that one Bijan week against Tampa. We remember.
Oh, yeah. All right, that's it for your final thought?
Yep.
All right, mine. I have way too many third place finishes behind me. I think I've got 6. And
I thought 2 was bad.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 with 2 fourth place finishes, which means 8 8 third place games and 1 championship where I am bound back to back.
Who
So
was the number one or two fantasy player on those teams who let you down the most? You
on the
think?
third place teams,
Mm-hmm.
man, there really wasn't a whole lot of people that disappointed me on the third place teams. I mean, the best ball one was a ton of injuries, and when you have injuries in best ball, there's no compensating for it.
Yeah,
Leave Ordinary Gentlemen, it's a third place finish where everybody crapped the bed in week 15 or 16. Would have had enough points to win the championship had it advanced, but everybody just tanked. That was Hurts, that was ETN, that was Samuel, that was like the entire team. Laporta, a lot of good pieces on the dynasty team. I'm fine with that. The 10-team Dynasty Superflex, that one hurts the most because that was a dominant team, but that was just Tua and Tyreek not getting it going in a game. I mean, when you're in third place, it's not like a whole thing disappointing. Like I can look at the 7 places that are up here, over here. I had DK Metcalf and Josh Jacobs really have slow starts, and the other one I had Kamara and Cooper Kupp. It's like I can have disappointments on the deeper teams, but the ones that were third, it's not too many big disappointments. But yeah, too many third places, but did at least get the 1 championship to go back to back in that league. And fantasy football is over. So it's time for, I don't know if you want to do weekly, daily, whatever you want to call it during the postseason, or prop bets on games or stat lines. But that's all you've got left at this point. And we see the darkness on the horizon.
It's like an old show that I used to watch, probably before your time. It was called Brain Games, and when you would hit the end of the show, it was very sad sounding narrator like Brain Games is now over. Yeah. That's what I tend to think about when fantasy football is done.
Yeah, I'm still in that like, all right, I don't have to rush. And I have made a dynasty trade this week, actually today. Got rid of Trey McBride, picked up Cole Kmet and a couple later mid-third round picks. Nothing too exciting, but I also have Sam Laporta. So if I can trade away and get some extra assets, and so be it. But I'm kind of in the mindset of, okay, I can breathe. I don't have to worry about setting my line. I don't have to worry about waivers. I don't have to worry about checking all the injury reports. Like, it's kind of nice at this point. Now, I know in 3-4 weeks when football is fading away into the sunset and the Super Bowl is on the horizon, and we can confirm or poo-poo the Super Bowl colors and the logo representing the teams.
And what color Gatorade is the coach going to get on, and you'll get dunked on, and
yeah, we'll do our little prop bets and like, oh, I kind of wish it would stay here forever. I miss football already.
But, and compare and contrast the city skylines of both teams that are in there, and which hot dog and which team is, and all that insane.
Yeah, but tough fantasy season, and it's kind of nice to be gone for a little while, but we'll miss it soon enough. So that's my final thought.
Yeah, because you're just like, oh yeah, who am I starting this weekend? Like, oh yeah.
Yep. That's our time. So we had someone try and mess with us. I don't know what they were trying to do. Chris MF and Hanson. Cool. You're super lame.
No. Hey, goodbye.
Yeah, people are dumb. People on the internet are really dumb, and it bothers me. But anyways, that's our time. I am flying Ryan Gokers along with
Tampa Motor Mouth, Joel Verlin.
And we'll be back next week. I'll be talking about a disc golf tournament that I'm in tomorrow and Sunday. Hopefully the weather is slightly better than it has been lately.
Yeah, good news is that I saw a post from Dennis Phillips that the severe weather threat is supposed to be way lower than it was earlier this week, which
Tuesday.
Was yikes.
Oh, yeah, Tuesday, Wednesday was a fun day down here. But that's
not
for another time. And with